So the Dallas Cowboys are an organization that has a tendency to do just enough to make people think they're the real deal until they crumble and then fail to live up to their high expectations. Look at 2021. They finished 12-5, first in the NFC East. Number 1 offense, number 7 defense. They lose to the Niners in the wild card round. 2022, 12-5 once again. The number 4 offense, the number 5 defense. They win a wild card game against the Bucs and then lose to the 49ers once again, 19-12 in the divisional round. And now starting off the season, the Cowboys have 2 dominant games. Look like one of the best teams in the league, dominating both the Jets and the New York Giants. And then coming into a game in week 3 against an Arizona Cardinals team that is no longer, or not with Kyler Murray at the moment. Joshua Dobbs taken over for the time being, sitting at 0-2, and they lose 28-16. And so if we look at the Cowboys formula for winning the first 2 weeks and compare it to the Cardinals game, there's clearly a big reason why the Cowboys weren't able to, have the same kind of domination they had in the first couple weeks of the season. First off, in the first 2 weeks, the Giants scored 0 points in week 1. The biggest factor was this Cowboys pass rush. Daniel Jones was sitting back there all day long, pressured almost seemingly every single play, sacked 7 times, had no time to throw. The Cowboys got 2 interceptions, 2 defensive touchdowns. The defense absolutely dominated because of the lack of strength of the Giants' offensive line. Then week 2, we have Zach Wilson, who has not played well at all with Aaron Rodgers going down. They only allowed 10 points to the Jets, sacked Zach Wilson 3 different times, add an interception 3 different times, and recover 1 fumble. So the first 2 weeks, the Cowboys are getting consistent pressure. They are forcing turnovers, and they win the game easily in both those weeks. Now week 3. Looking at this game against the Cardinals, obviously the biggest news leading up to the game was Trayvon Diggs, who tore his ACL. Big blow to that secondary, isn't able to play for the rest of the season. And so even me, myself, I was thinking, the Cowboys should handle the Cardinals. They've been playing really well. This seems to be the Cowboys game. And then it really wasn't. And the Cardinals had a very smart game plan. They know Micah Parsons is elite. They know that the Cowboys pass rush is one of the best in the NFL. And so what did they do? They got the ball out incredibly quickly. If we look at Dobbs' time to throw in this game, it was 2.32 seconds on average. And if you rank that against the rest of the quarterbacks in the NFL so far this season, that would be the 3rd fastest in the NFL. So the Cardinals were quickly getting the ball out. Dobbs doesn't have to do a ton. He only goes 17 of 21, 189 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. So he was incredibly efficient. He wasn't spending too much time back there in the pocket. And when he did get some pressure, he was pretty good at escaping the pocket. That was not an area of his game I really knew was there. Haven't watched him too much, but he has that ability as well to escape the pocket. But he was incredibly efficient. And then the biggest Achilles heel of this Cowboys defense, which I think if there was a weakness even last year on this defense, is their inability to stop the run. The Cardinals gashed them on the ground. 30 carries for 222 yards at 7.4 yards per carry. You can't allow 7.4 yards per carry and over 200 rush yards and expect to win the game. And when we look at this Cowboys defense and we look at the first 2 weeks, now it has me thinking maybe the Cowboys defense isn't one of the most dominant in the NFL. I think partly it has to do with the fact that the Giants and Jets are one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Through 3 weeks, the Jets ranked as the 32nd ranked scoring defense in the NFL, and the Giants rank as the 31st ranked scoring defense or scoring offense in the NFL. So the 2 worst offenses in the NFL, and the Cowboys absolutely destroyed them. And I'm not saying that the Cowboys don't have a good defense. They clearly do. They have a very good pass rush. They've had a good secondary. On Sunday, it wasn't very good. But the Cardinals took advantage of where they knew the Cowboys' weakness was, running on the ground, running towards Micah Parsons, getting the ball out quickly. And I think if you're another team in the NFL, game planning for the Cowboys, you obviously see where this weakness is. You see that with that pass rush they have, you got to get the ball out quick. You got to, allow your guys to run the ball. And then if we sort of turn to the other side of the ball. So the Cowboys honestly had multiple chances in this game to win it. I think they were pretty easily moving the ball down the field most of the game. They had a season-high 416 yards. They ran the ball well, 33 carries, 185 yards at 5.6 yards per carry. And if we look at the biggest issue for this offense, it was their inability to convert in the red zone. They went 1 for 5 in the red zone, only 1 touchdown on 5 different red zone attempts. And that's the reason for this loss. I think that if you look at that, one of the final drives, Dak had a chance to go in there and score. He throws into triple coverage, and what do you know? It gets intercepted. And I think one thing that has been slightly underrated is the loss of Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator. If we look at just purely red zone offense, so far this year, the Cowboys have the 27th best red zone offense in the NFL. only scoring touchdowns 40% of the time. Last year, they were number 1. So they have dropped, in the first 3 weeks at least up to this point, they have dropped from number 1 last season in red zone scoring percentage at 71.43%, and they've dropped 30% with Mike McCarthy calling plays in the red zone. And if we even look at the Chargers, where Kellen Moore went to run that offense, the Chargers last year were the 18th ranked red zone scoring offense in the NFL. This year, they're 7th. They've jumped it up about 11% with Kellen Moore calling the plays. So I think losing Kellen Moore has been a big loss for this Cowboys offense. And up to this point, the offense really hasn't needed to do much. In your first 2 games, when your defense is scoring multiple touchdowns, getting multiple interceptions in those games, all you need is to, allow your running game to go well. Don't make too many big mistakes, which Dak was fine in those first 2 games. But then in this game where they really need to put up points, they need to come in there and help the defense who is struggling all day long, the Cowboys couldn't do it. And so I think that when you face off against weaker offenses, the Cowboys defense is going to do what they did in the first 2 weeks. Not every time, but with this pass rush, if the Cowboys are in control of games, then this defense is going to carry them, and the offense can be okay just being efficient, slowly moving the ball down the field, getting points when they can. But when you face off against top-tier offenses, which you're going to face off against in the future, in the Philadelphia Eagles, in teams like the 49ers, when the playoffs come around, if the Cowboys were to face off against them, I don't think this Cowboys team is really built to go head-to-head and really compete against those kinds of teams, because a team like the Niners, they have so many weapons. They can run the ball, they can pass the ball, they get it out quickly with that Kyle Shanahan scheme. And if they're able to do what the 49ers have done all season long, the Cowboys defense isn't going to shut out a team like the Niners. They're not going to hold them to only 10 points. And you're going to need Dak Prescott in this offense to be able to move the ball down the field and convert in the end zone. But that is all I have for this one. If you guys want to get more NFL content like that, feel free to subscribe down below.